Hey everybody, what's up? Today we're going to disassemble the Lenovo Legion Y520. More specifically, we're going to add new thermal paste on the CPU and also remove the dust collected on the fans on the back. So in order to do that, we need to remove the backplate on the laptop. And in order to remove the backplate on the laptop, we need to remove 13 screws. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 and 13 in the middle. So let's begin to do that and we'll continue on. Alright, so now that we've got the screws out of the way, we need to pry off the backplate on the laptop. I use a guitar pick to do so, and we will begin to do that. Just find a loose spot on the laptop. I found the loose spot is here, on the ports on the USB right here. And I will begin to guide my pick all the way around the backplate. Okay, so we're almost there. Okay, so this side is up. We're going to just go up and the backplate is out. So, in order to move on, we need to remove this black tape. And now the screws of the heatsink are exposed, and we're gonna screw them to remove the heatsink, and so we can see the CPU to add the new thermal paste. Okay, so the screws to remove the heatsink are as following. It's 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So let's remove those and we will be able to remove the heatsink. Also keep in mind that those screws are not taken off, they're stuck with the heatsink, so don't be afraid of losing them. Just feel when they're loose, when you hear them spinning over and over, and leave it like that. Okay, so in order to remove the heatsink now, we will begin by putting some force on the heatsink here. We'll try to raise it and gently pull, and then place the other hand on the other end and just lift it up, and here we are. So now what we're going to do is to clean this up and add new thermal paste. Okay, so I changed the orientation of the laptop on the other way. So this is our Intel and this is the GPU. So this is the CPU and GPU. So we're gonna add new thermal paste on both of them. So in order to do that, we need to have some paper towel with alcohol, and we're gonna clean any excess thermal paste from before. So we clean that up and we continue on. Once you removed most of the thermal paste, you can also use a Q-tip and put some alcohol in it and do the perimeter of the GPU, because it might have excess thermal paste there. You should clean that as well. So let's do that as well. Also keep in mind, don't worry if any fibers get around it or anything. Before we add thermal paste, we're also going to use a vacuum cleaner and remove anything excess debris around the motherboard and stuff to make sure it's crystal clear clean. Okay, now since the alcohol has evaporated, we're gonna add some more alcohol on a piece of fiber cloth and make sure the surface area is clean. Alright, that looks good enough. So the next step is going to be to also clean the heatsink itself, because the heatsink, as well as you will see in very shortly, also have some thermal paste residue on it. So let's go do that as well. Here is the heatsink. So repeat and do the same process as we did on the processors on the laptop. Here, those are the pads that go on the memories. You can also do like a very light touch with a Q-tip like this with alcohol to remove anything like debris or dust collected on them. Okay, so as you can see, the heatsink itself has some debris on it, so we can use a vacuum cleaner and clean that up and make it nice and ready to go. Alright, that looks good. Some finishing touches over here, some dust that the vacuum couldn't pick up, as you can see here. Yep, some small residue stuff that got stuck on the memory pads here, but no biggie. I'm gonna clean them up. It's gonna be nice and clean. I also see there is some dust collected on top of the heatsink as well, so I'm gonna do a small quick pass on that too as well. Alright, just some inspection. That looks okay. This top piece here might need some touch up. I see some gunk and dust collected on it, but we will do it after we apply it on the unit again. So, right now we're gonna go back to the motherboard and we're gonna add the new thermal paste. Okay, so now one thing before we add the new thermal paste is to clean any excess debris on the motherboard, as we said earlier, so we're gonna do that right now. Okay, great. Looks everything clean and we're set to add the thermal paste. So, I'm going to add if you can see, Arctic Silver 5, that's mostly recommended for laptops and stuff. It's not something overkill, but it's something that it's going to stay for a long time and it's going to be efficient, especially on laptops, because you don't very often open laptops and stuff, so it's not anything special, but gets the job done and it's a pretty decent thermal paste. So we're going to add that, and I'm also going to show you a way to add thermal paste specifically on such small sizes on CPU and GPU processors on laptops. We are going to add a very small dot in the middle, and then what we're going to do is to use this tool right here. This is like a small plastic spatula, and we're trying to spread it evenly on the processor, a very thin layer of it. Okay, so that's a pretty even layer of it. I'm trying to do multiple passes on it to remove any excess thermal paste, and I'm going to add that excess on the spatula on the next processor on the CPU. So this looks pretty good. The reason why I'm evenly spreading it and I'm not just adding a dot and then pressing it against with the heatsink is because due to the smaller size of it, it's not like your normal CPU or GPU processor, which is the big ones on the desktops. Those big ones on the desktop, most of the time they're not a flat surface. They have like a small dent or a small like concave surface on them. These ones, because they're smaller, most of the time they're completely flat, and on top of that the heatsink is going to press very tightly against them. So in order to avoid any excess thermal paste going to the small capacitors near the GPU, we're trying to spread it evenly here, and once it's squeezed it's going to stay evenly everywhere and it's not going to relieve any excess around. So let's continue with the CPU. We're going to add anything excess here, like that. Okay, so now we're going to add the heatsink back on the motherboard. We're going to gently place it correctly, touching one tip here and the other tip here. Okay, it's in place. And now we're going to add we're going to screw back the heatsink. I suggest beginning with this screw here, then follow it up with this screw here, then follow it up with this screw here, and then finish it up with this screw here. Evenly each time. Do 2 rotations here, then 2 here, then 2 here, then 2 here, to evenly press it against. And the final screw over here, tied it down full. Okay, so new thermal paste installed. Now let's do a bit of cleaning with the debris over here and stuff, and we're good to go for the thermal paste. Next we're going to do the cleaning on the fans up here. For the fans, we need to remove this plate over here so we can access the fans and clean them with a vacuum cleaner. So in order to do that, we will need to remove, give me 1 sec. We will need to remove these smaller screws, this one over here, the one I'm pointing at, the other one in here. Not the big one, the smaller one. We're removing every small screw so we can remove only the plating, not the fans themselves. We're going to remove only the small plate above. So in order to do that, we need to remove every small screw on top, which is this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. So let's do that. Once you remove all the screws, you just move it gently. You can even use a pair of tweezers if you want to have a better grip on it. Below here, and you just lift it up, and here we go. Here are the fans. This is the back side. We're gonna clean the back side and the fans as well with a vacuum cleaner. The reason I'm using a vacuum cleaner and not let's say compressed air is because when you're cleaning very dusty objects, the last thing you want is for all this dust to go outside in your room. So I highly advise when you're cleaning computer parts or desktop or even laptops to use a vacuum cleaner with a brush, so all the dust is collecting in the vacuum cleaner and not in the area around you. So let's do that. Alright, looks nice, looks clean, spinning nicely, and that's it as well. So let's put everything back together and we're pretty much done. We'll see temperatures later on, how it boots and everything, so let's keep going. So now let's screw back everything. I placed the plating on top and now we're gonna screw it back in. After you finish with the screws on the plate for the fans, don't forget to add the plastic sealer between the fans and the heatsink. Here we have the backplate of the laptop. We're gonna do some quick vacuum as well to collect any excess dust from the backplate as well. Okay, so now with everything all set, we just add the backplate on the laptop, screw the backplate, and we're done. Press gently on top of here until you hear a click. Once you hear the click, that means everything all on the heatsink part is set, and then you just slightly press against the rest of the backplate. Double check to see if everything is positioned nicely. Okay, this is pretty good, and now we just screw everything back in. Alright, that's it. Now basically the video is over, but I'm gonna log in and show you temperatures to make sure the thermal paste we installed is dissipating heat correctly, and also here if the fans are spinning correctly as well and it's nice and quiet. So let's do that. So far so good, we booted. Very nice. I hear the fans spinning nice, no weird sounds. Nice. So finally we're going to go and see our temps. Right, so temperatures, let's check temperatures. Let me see if I can zoom in here for you guys to see as well. Okay, so I don't know if you can see, but we're doing pretty good. Temperatures deviating right now, we are around 35 to 45 temperatures right now, but this is considering that we just booted the system and it's trying to load up every software or anything that the computer starts with. So basically our minimum temperature right here is 35, 33, 32, which is excellent for a laptop. That means we're doing pretty nice. And top temperatures around 56, I see here, yeah, 56, 54. That's nice, as long as it doesn't, based on booting and based on my experience on this laptop, as long as it boots and it doesn't exceed 60 Celsius degrees temperature, we are good to go. Obviously when you game or when you're doing rendering and stuff, it's going to go around 60 to 70, sometimes 70. Most of the time it's going to deviate between 60 to 65 Celsius degree. So installment of thermal paste done. The fan's spinning nice, and thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoy. Bye bye.